Well, hello, my friends. The week has finally arrived. It is PODJAM. I am on the road and traveling and trying to make this go off as well as it possibly can. So this week, I'll just be posting interviews each and every day. Posting for the podcast will be sporadic. Pay attention to the Discord. I might drop some information in there as well as the Patreon subscribers. All community members I'll do my best to let you know what's going on. But today, I've got Ophira Eisenberg. We caught up at the end of last week, and she was as brilliant and hilarious as always. She is such a good friend to me, and PODJAM would not be happening without her because she really pushed me and insisted on making this happen again, and I'm so glad that we did because Ophira is going to be there, and I'm very excited that she will be. Unfortunately, Maura Quint had to cancel. Yeah, I'm so sorry. Those of you who are really looking forward to meeting Maura, she will not be making it to Las Vegas because she broke her ankle and had to have surgery and is in a boot, and she wants to express her apologies and thanks for everybody who reaches out, but she is unfortunately not going to be there, and I'm terribly upset because I was really looking forward to seeing her and hanging out with her. I know many of you were as well, but I'm more upset that she broke her ankle. So all the best, Maura, and we will see you at a future gathering. We love you and hope that you heal up quick. Be well. But right now, it's time to get to my conversation with Ophira. Like I said, no news headlines or clips this week. Likely, I won't be able to make that happen. I'm on the road, and I wanted to also just say quick thanks to Desiree and Ryan for hosting. I think there must have been a dozen. I never used that. Maybe 10 of us that were at our house on Saturday night. It was a great time hanging out with you guys. And then the next night, went to Ian and Molly's house. Not far from Santa Barbara. They have a beautiful place where they have horses, just a wonderful group of people in this community. And when I say that I'd like to come out and meet you, get on the road, I mean it. And it was great to meet some folks for the first time, see some other folks for the second or third time. And I want to keep doing that as we build this community, and in the years to come, I'm very much looking forward to a potential van life show where I just come to people's houses and we have a good time, and that's exactly what we did this weekend. So thank you to everybody who hosted, and I'm very excited to bring you my conversation with Ophira right now, and then of course see you this week at PODJAM in Las Vegas. Very, very excited for that. But right now it's time to bring you the host of Parenting is a Joke, one of the most well-respected comedians working today. She is one of our favorites, a very good friend of mine. You have to see her if you get the opportunity to see her performing live. Of course, take it. Subscribe to her Substack, subscribe to her podcast and her email list and everything. Support Ophira all the ways you can. Let's do it right now with the always awesome Canadian, American, Jewish, cancer-surviving, author, hilarious, mom, partner, volunteer, all of it. We love her. Ophira Eisenberg. Let's do it.
Hi.
Ophira Eisenberg is back, and soon we will be together. Last year when we were at PODJAM in Vegas, you and I went for our only hike. I think we got a little bit lost, but then we found a place and we went for a lovely hike. And I recall how much I enjoyed spending time with you and just how unbelievably comfortable I felt the whole time. And that's how I always feel.
Oh, thanks. And then do you remember that we came back from the hike? This is like one of these things. You go to Las Vegas, people talk about like, there's great restaurants, but we stumbled upon a restaurant that was basically in a mini mall because we were starving after this hike. And it was in the blazing sun, but it was beautiful. And we went into this, it seemed like everyone in that neighborhood, happy hour, lunch, working lunch kind of place, Mexican, and it was incredible.
Really great meal. Christian joined us for that, right?
Yeah, and it was one of the best Mexican restaurants I maybe ever been to outside of Mexico.
I think that the food they're known for their food in Nevada, but also they're known for their Mexican food. I remember when I was out there in November, I went through one area down one street and there was just like 19 Mexican taco stands, storefronts, like individual, and I was like, how can the market support this many separate places?
All of it.
The difference between that taco joint and that taco joint, and then a Mexican guy jumped out and explained it all to me. He's like, "Hey, gringo, here's the difference."
Were you on a commercial where you're like, "How does this even happen?" Hey, gringo, I'm here for you.
He just popped in from above the screen. He was wearing all kinds of subtly racist, stereotypical garb.
exoticized. Yes, Mexican, a blanket. I love that. Yeah.
And then he also with the mustache. And then what was crazy is he was just an honest business owner who was disappeared by ICE moments after we shot the commercial, guilty of nothing but being a Mexican business owner. And they said because of his tattoos, he had to be removed.
Right. Well, he was probably pro-Palestinian.
That could, imagine being a Venezuelan gangster, quote, who's also, quote, pro-Palestinian or pro-Hamas. Those guys got to be really worried about their status.
Oh, you know what? Can I tell you, as we talk about the overlords of the world, including the overlord of Meta, right? We've got all kinds of different people that are marionetting our lives right now. I posted a joke on the Instagram and the Facebook where it's basically about, it's just a joke, everybody. I don't even have to say that, about that there's no social structures helping parents, and that, childcare isn't getting any cheaper. Nothing is becoming affordable, yet there's all these pressures and expenses put on parents and especially on women. And I was like, basically what do I want? I want cocaine. That's how I'm going to have it all, with cocaine. And I talk about because right now all they give our moms are Chardonnay, but cocaine moms, that's the mom you want. Chardonnay moms can't keep up with their laundry. Cocaine moms can, and blah, blah, blah. I keep going. Okay. And it got removed from Meta for violation that I was supporting with the intention to sell illicit drugs. I would just like to say that there are people openly spewing Nazi rhetoric that do not get flagged.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy. It's also, it is true that after all of your shows, you have a table with several different cocaine
strains of coke.
And you did have a link at the end of that video, buy my cocaine, which I do think they do have a point.
Pete, it's called Skinny Mom Powder. Okay, please understand my brand.
Skinny Mom Powder. It's a really funny joke and idea. I diagnosing an actual problem about a lack of support for parents or any kind of formal social programs. There's some. It's very thin, and it doesn't help most. And yet, what it points to it's a great point. Bill Burr has a funny joke in his new special, and we could probably do these all day. This guy doesn't get in trouble, but this guy does.
Right.
And you can do this, but you can't do that. And when it comes to speech and what's censored and what's not, we're in an upside down world. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I was thinking, I actually heard him very briefly speak of Bill Burr on Fallon, which is great. It's a fun watch because he really he starts criticizing Musk, and you see Jimmy Fallon very uncomfortable. I think that's the part of it I enjoyed the most, weirdly.
He's it's just, I don't mind Jimmy Fallon. I like him fine, but it's weird how safe he has always had to try to be when he doesn't. It makes me uncomfortable to watch anybody who I know feels one way pretend they don't, or that they feel another way. That kind of lack of honesty and integrity is something that you don't get here at Stand Up with Pete Dominic and our in our community. That's not something we admire, that quality.
And listen, I don't have to be the person that's going like, oh my God, while he is saying this, I'm thinking about our sponsors. I'm thinking about the longevity of the show. I'm thinking about the network execs. I'm thinking about all the meetings I'm going to have after that. Right? So that's, I'm sure, part of his headspace.
You and I both have a record of that integrity. You worked at NPR for what, 9 years?
9 years. Yep.
And I was at SiriusXM for, I think, 12. And those are the biggest media corporations and companies. And we could tell these stories about, how we chose our battles for sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's the pressure exists in any company to behave poorly or not report bad behavior or any number of things, but it's also why we don't have jobs anymore. No, it's also, it's like a lot of people that work alone, or they're entrepreneurs, or independent contractors. They just have a hard time working in a larger structure where you've got to make value compromises that you lose sleep over night? Am I onto anything? I'm not saying you did that at NPR. I didn't really do it at Sirius XM. I'm saying that's the general operating procedure for most people working certainly in corporate America and any kind of industry, I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine what that must feel like, honestly. I can't even imagine to feel, especially in this exact moment where everyone's opinion in corporate, like a big corporation, I'm sure there's just ongoing, like, don't say a thing and don't even pretend you think that the person beside you feels the same way as you do. You just can't. I imagine that's what's going on.
But getting back to your point, your joke, it is a really important thing to discuss what we can and cannot say. And it's crazy. It's like I did a joke about how cocaine's an upper for tired people who are overworked. And
yes.
That's not okay. But it is okay to say the Holocaust did not happen. And I'm not sure how pervasive that is on Meta's platforms, Instagram and Facebook, but they certainly are not policing things nearly as much. Obviously, Twitter is owned by a Nazi, and it's very pro-Nazi. The more Nazi you are, I think, the better over there. But
how did can you? I mean, I just take a step back. I'm not saying anything totally new here, but we should. So I get why electric cars are fraught in the sense of the lithium, the battery,
the juice.
It's a juice, but
how did we get here?
The juice. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine? It's just so sad to me, like the person that brings this electric car into our world that we're all technically supposed to support ends up being, I mean, can you imagine if like Hitler solved pollution? That's how I feel.
Yeah, no, we never really had someone, that's a really good point, contribute something ostensibly good that was changing the entire automobile industry for the better in a lot of ways, not in its business practices or labor practices, but certainly in its product that was zero pollution, you know, to make it, but not to run it necessarily. And so it's a new thing. It seems like a bad movie, though, that he's got so much influence and that the president seems to answer to him. The other day, did you see that Trump had to walk Elon Musk's son around the Rose Garden? Well, Elon Musk told him to do it. It's just a way to prove his power. There's no way that Trump was like, you know what, let me take this kid for a walk. There's no way. He hates his own kids. He definitely hates that kid.
Yeah.
And yet there he was.
How much did that kid get paid?
Well, he'll be excommunicated from the family pretty soon.
Yeah, that was the last thing. That was the last thing. And then they trotted him off to another country.
Speaking of which, let's talk about your original country, which you might trot off to with your husband and son at some point. You've got a safe harbor there. How much are you talking to your Canadian?
My Canadians? Yeah.
It's happening there.
It's sort of interesting because my sister is, I mean, you know what I was thinking about Canada is that, so in America right now, we're divided. There's so many people with so many different opinions, and yet a lot of us feel like we are prisoners. Okay. And I guess there's a bunch of people that are like, finally, this is the best time of ever. Still yet to find one person that feels like everything's fantastic. But in Canada, there is some dissent, but I feel like America's unity towards the hatred of America right now is unwavering. I don't think there's a lot of dissent there. So that is, obviously the population's a little different than America, but the fact that Canadians seem to be gleeful over the fact that all the American liquors and wines are no longer being sold in the stores. Gleeful at the idea of like the avocado is now solely coming from Argentina or Mexico. And I know these product things, removing them probably has a very minimal impact on a whole. But from a perception point of view, it's huge.
Yeah, what I'm hearing you say is that Canadians are basically saying, well, we still have a lot of problems with each other over all kinds of different things. But the one thing that unifies us is America, eh?
And I'm sorry. But yes, I mean, in that standard thing, like there's nothing that unifies a group together like an enemy. And you could say that at one point in history, the thing that unified America, other than like America's rules and is the best and number one and all that stuff, that arrogancy, patriotism, I'm sorry, was somewhat like it's united front against communism, capitalism versus communism.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other thing that seems to be happening is that people are okay with the pain or the lack of convenience or even the higher prices or hit to the economy for the greater good of Canada. Like that's something that we saw, I think, probably last in this country in World War II and for an hour and a half in New York after 9/11. But the idea that there wasn't really, I mean, we unify, if you see something, say something. I don't know.
I mean, everyone just mocked that immediately in New York. Immediately. They're like, that would be my entire life of just saying something.
Yeah. If there were an official whistle that you had to blow every time you saw something, just be a subway filled with people blowing whistles. That guy's got a large jacket. He's singing. Hello. What? He's probably safe then. Okay, so no, I mean, it's just I think it's really interesting to see people say, I'm willing to sacrifice having to pay more, not having my favorite beer or whiskey, whatever American product, access to it, because fuck them, and this is for us. This is for Canada. I heard this the other day, and it was, I don't know, it kind of moved me. I'm easily moved. Some Canadian said, I was born Canadian, and I will die Canadian. And I could see that being the rallying cry if America tries to invade in some way. And Trump did talk about it for 4 minutes on his latest interview on Fox News.
I mean, and you know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say that kind of really concise, like, I will die a Canadian. That's new. That is new, Pete. That is not how the Canadians I grew up. They would be like, die a Canadian. Like, whatever. Sure. Of course. I mean, why not? But that kind of just almost aggressive verbiage. That's new. That's new.
I feel like yours should be, I was born in Canada, but I'll die in Brooklyn of bird flu because it's probably unsafe.
By the way, I just can't figure this out. The eggs are $12, but the chicken is still $5. Now, I know that these are different animals.
You have the forefront of all humor related to this viral spread. I want to say you tweeted, what was it? It's a tough day for chickens.
Oh, that was the Super Bowl because chicken wings, because all the chickens were being killed for bird flu, and they're also the number one food for the Super Bowl was chicken wings. And I was like, wow, bad day.
I read that like a dum-dum walking out of CVS, looking at my phone while walking, and I remember where I was laughing. So that's a good question about the chickens. And
I know they're different chickens.
Did you hear what RFK's solution? The guy
God.
Yes, he has access now to the greatest researchers, scientists, and doctors in the world at his fingertips, and he seems to be coming up with his own ideas.
Why not? Why not? He's like, I have a good one. Right. His idea is to don't kill them, just watch them and find the one that survives, the one mutant 7-hearted chicken that has been inbred through whatever dire circumstances we keep these things in, and that one becomes your alpha, and just breed against it.
But apparently his solution is to draw its blood and pump it into his own arm, which I thought was fucking crazy.
Yeah, let's do that.
I just want to find the one chicken and then eat it myself. Yeah, no, he doesn't. That's exactly, you described, I think, exactly what his idea is. And then all of the people who work in epidemiology mentioned what they learned on day one when they got their IDs for college, which was viruses mutate in live hosts, and that's how they become stronger. So that's why we kill them all. Also,
I know, and that's why RFK is getting stronger and stronger.
Every day he's getting big. He's like turning into Red Hulk.
Exactly. I mean, I guess Easter hunts are only for the 1% this year. Who can afford that? Who can afford to color some eggs?
I'm sorry, sweetheart. Easter Bunny didn't come this year. Why, Mama?
Yeah, but who came? The turnip, the Easter turnip.
Oh, is that? I have not heard. Is this the replacement?
I'm making it up. Easter beets, Easter turnips.
Every parent is going to have to come up with something different, and it shouldn't be hard to be creative this year, folks.
No, that's right. This is your year of creativity.
Apparently, Ophira has a root cellar to draw from, but not everybody. You can come up with whatever you want.
Easter rutabaga. There's all these root vegetables that no one gives a shit about or even knows what they are.
Oh, by the way, speaking of holidays, St. Patrick's Day just passed. You were in New York.
Yeah.
Did you see it exist? Did you see anything? Did everybody drinks now gallon jugs of Borg, which is just liquor and Kool-Aid or something? I don't know. But was it different this year at all? Did you yourself celebrate?
I did not celebrate. I actually performed at a synagogue on the Saturday of St. Patrick's, and it was in Connecticut. And I will say my trains both ways, though, because I took the train, were filled with revelers covered in little, green beads with shamrocks on them, just yelling and having a good time as they were, I guess, leaving the Stamford and going to whatever bar they found in the Upper East Side that has a shamrock on it. I mean, take your pick. But I will say, you know what? I have a criticism. I have a criticism of it all, which Monday night, which was St. Patrick's Day, New York streets empty because everyone celebrated on the weekend. And I was like, can't we just celebrate on the day of the thing?
Well, I think that's a really good idea. I think your new mayor, Andrew Cuomo, probably should go up that. He's actually has a really good shot of winning, and his critics and the women he harassed are doing their best to tell everybody how much of a piece of shit he is, but
nobody cares.
Like a strong leader, Ophira. They need someone strong and Italian and tough.
It's gone so south that even some of the women I know that would be the first to be like, what are you talking? Or like, it seems better. Seems like a better choice.
Yeah.
And it comes down to the same issue that often happens, which is there's not enough choices.
Well, because you have to make choice voting. There should be enough choices, and it should matter. Character should matter, but it doesn't.
Oh my God. What are you, 2006? Who are you right now? Character should matter. Where are we?
Definitely not your local PTA. I heard that's pretty cool. You're running a fundraiser for that.
Oh, I am doing a fundraiser for my school. And it's interesting because I had a couple of people say, aren't you afraid of being yourself in front of all the parents, like on stage and just joking? And I was like, I never thought of that. And then I also thought, what's going to happen?
I did the same thing for my daughter's school for 4 years.
And
the fundraiser, and it meant really good things for me because all of the parents knew who I was and enjoyed what I did, and many of the teachers did as well. And it was great. I was riding high, and it felt great to be able to contribute. And then there was a scandal at the PTA, and a bunch of the moms said, "Can you say something?" And I said something, and then they're all kind of like turned on me. It was it was a very, very it was terrible. I was really, because they're like, we don't want to say anything, but if you could, we think that like the PTA president is basically doing a lot of things that she shouldn't be doing to advocate for her kid. We're not sure where this money is going. She's kind of doing it for her own kind of popularity. And I saw all the ugly things about the PTA that I'd only heard about up until then, and they ended up kind of landed on me because I subtly spoke up. I didn't make a big deal, but they were all like, "What? Well, you're questioning us?" I'm like, they told me to. They're all looking at me. All these moms threw me under the bus. They're like, "We don't know what he's talking about." I'm like,
"No." And then they didn't back you up?
They totally betrayed me. I'll never forget it.
Unbelievable.
Moms, I held it against them to this day. I was like, "Wait, what?"
Oh, you know what? I will say on that front, I'm a little brutal because I already feel always, there was a show of this title, but like the odd mom out. I just feel like I don't really fit in, and I'm kind of sick of feeling bad about it because also first I tried to, shapeshift And I'll be like, I could be like one of them. Just like put on a little mask, Ophira, and talk about whatever, handbags. And then that's not exactly what these people talk about. But then I just was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. And I'm tired of explaining that I work at night. And I'm tired of explaining that, yes, I make money for these shows. Like just all that basic stuff that feels very condescending.
Do comedy for money?
So when you travel, do they pay for that? Do I ask that of your job? Hey, when you go for that thing, do they pay? Does your company pay for that? Do they pay you for travel?
I like to make people who have corporate jobs. I like to make their jobs little because they always say, "You doing your little comedy skits? You're doing your little."
Oh yeah.
Like you doing your little CFO job.
And you know what? Part of the reason I don't think anyone has really, but the corporate vernacular is so obsessed with stealing everything they can from creative people. Like the idea, I remember when my husband was applying for jobs, he was like, oh, you know what the kind of stuff I have to put in my resume, what keywords? I have to put rock star and what my superpower is and how I'm a ninja. And I was like, yeah, I know they do that. Like, oh, Gail from HR is a rock star. It's like, oh yeah? How does Keith Richards like that? Me and Gail from HR, we're rock stars. Oh, what's Gail's superpower? Is that she can like show no emotion while she fires people over Zoom? What's her superpower?
That is an amazing idea. I hope that's a bit you're doing.
It's not, but it was just, I hate it.
You could keep on going with that. Edgelord. She's the head of HR. Couldn't be more of a woman. She is here to make sure we're all droids.
Exactly.
And to protect Tony in accounting, who can't keep his hands to himself, but brings in a lot of dough. Gotta protect that guy.
Gotta protect that guy. He might be the new CEO.
He's the breadwinner. Someone just told me that men are still creeps at work.
Someone just told you that? That's hilarious.
I was surprised. When's the last time you were touched? Period. Like just touched by another man. Granted, you don't work in a corporate atmosphere, but you're in places, in spaces. And I mean, because I always thought at SiriusXM, like before any, scandal broke out and before anybody taught me anything, I took on social cues and like, I never touched anyone ever.
Right.
A lot of man touching though. There's a lot of men touching each other, but you never touch a woman. And so I'm joking when I say I'm surprised, but I'm trying to bring out the naivete in a lot of us. I'm subtly surprised that people are still touching, much less we get to anything else, which is even, more obvious, but is there contact?
I will tell you, I mean, like, whatever comedy clubs, it doesn't really, I don't find that. So and some of the comedy clubs I work at are very corporate. So I'm just thinking about it at that level, but that is just I haven't found anything there. Of course, there's lots of treatment that is sexist, but not the touching. But I will tell you, I was doing a corporate comedy event where there was some stand-ups, but there was also music. It was like a whole variety thing for a financial company. This was in Las Vegas. They had a ballroom in one of the hotels. It was a big production. They hired some audio-visual team. They had 15 people on little headset mics running around orchestrating this thing. And I was looking at the room. The show was about to start. I was looking at the room just to see what was going on. Honestly, I was panicking because I was like, how am I going to make these bros laugh with my stuff? And, I have to be clean too. So you can't just kind of browbeat them by kind of showing your own aggression, I guess. And a stage manager man that was working, and I'm going to put him in his mid 60s. I would say he was a little bit older, probably like a hair away from retiring. Came up behind me. I did not know he was behind me. And I felt a hand on the small of my back.
Yikes. Yeah, there it is.
And I was just like, what? And he was like, I just wanted to let you know that this is your mic. And I was like my head was on fire. And I didn't know what to do. I was just sitting there with all of these chemicals surging through my body. And I'm like, who do I talk to? What do I say? Do I say anything? Let me just get through the show. I mean, it was I couldn't believe it. And then I was just like, if that's what's happening to me in this one tiny moment.
you guys ended up hooking up later that night, you and the stage manager.
I mean, immediately after my set.
You're like, I like a gritty man in his mid-60s. There's a guy like that. I almost feel like it's stereotypical of stage managers, maybe because they're older, but like the nature of the work or something. But the guy at HBO's Last Week Tonight was real weird with the younger women, the way he would talk to them, say things. It was wildly inappropriate. I remember just thinking, I saw it like 3-4 times. I was like, how is that guy employed at all at this point? But so obviously there's still plenty of bad behavior.
Oh yeah. And I mean, I just go, if that's what's happening to me in this moment, what is really happening? Like, yeah. I guess there's a world where the person is just putting hands on smalls of backs as a consistent move, and that's the end of it. But I doubt it.
The last time I saw someone do that was literally Steve Bannon at the RNC in 2000. It must have been 2016 or something. When was that? Yeah. And he, it was in the studio. Yeah. He put his hand on the back of his producer. And I was just like, what are you doing?
Oh my God.
25. And he's like touching her. I was like, what are you doing? But then again, he is
disgusting. Yeah, right. Exactly. Disgusting. So yeah. And I will say that I should have reported that person, I guess. And I did not. So there you go. It perpetuates.
It's your fault, whoever is next.
That's what I'm here for find out on what's my fault.
I would look at your Instagram and it says, you have a picture of a sign that says, you are strong and worthy. And then you put one of your Post-it notes on it that said, I'm fucking weak and I'm fine with it. I love this. I wish this thing that you do, I have never seen anybody else do, would make you millions of dollars alone, and you would just go around finding these toxic positivity sayings. You never know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you have. You put a Post-it note on it. Well, I want more fucking choices.
Yes. Well, you know what, so I put the second one about the weakness after that, because that one I put up, and so many people, I must have just hit a little moment in a lot of people's brains about how they were feeling, because so many people got back to me and they were like, why do I have to be strong? I'm so sick of being strong. I'm so sick of standing up again. When can I just feel like there is strength around me and I can collapse a little bit?
That's why
I know.
During COVID, especially, every town, I mean, I get it and I love it. And I think it's great. You know, you could argue both ways about community building and unifying each other. But like after COVID, like during COVID, every town had blank strong in their name.
Yes.
And it's like the smallest towns, the biggest towns, every town. It was like Scranton strong. You're like, okay, every town strong? A lot of towns aren't strong.
No, they're weak. They're like falling apart. I would like that. Falling apart, New London.
We had another one, which is hilarious. Positive mind, positive vibes, positive life is what the sign said. And you just put a Post-it note on it. While they take our fucking rights away.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the one that should resonate the most with people, because we're constantly being told to try to be positive and to try to find joy. I'm one of the people saying that. But the truth is, that's the exception. When we're happy and we're finding joy and we're enjoying ourselves and we're relaxed, we should cherish that. We should be in that moment, because most of the time it's not that, especially now, because you've got your own situation, your own personal issues, and then you've got what's happening in the world, in the country. And while they take our fucking rights away is the perfect way of saying it, especially.
Well, I do think the positivity movement, I'm going to call it, did come, I mean, a little bit after COVID. You just started seeing these signs multiply everywhere. Like it really became a thing. But I have a little bit of a edge to how I think things are part of larger movements. You can call it conspiratorial. I don't think it is. But I think there is something in the American ethos to try to tell every individual, oh, you're sad? You gotta get it together. It's up to you individually. And that separates us, also makes us feel bad, when really it's like, no, there should be some structures around. There should be things lifting me up all the time in place. It's not my fault. And I feel like it is often also very much geared towards women.
I absolutely think that's true. And I think the best example of it is healthcare, because I believe in a lot of the stoicism I'm reading of, separate your thoughts from reality, and you can, think more positively and control what you can control. And a lot of this stuff, I buy into a lot of that stuff. But no matter how good my life is, no matter how well things are going, if I don't have health insurance, and even more tragically, if my children don't have health insurance, I can never rest. I can never truly be comfortable not knowing that if something bad did happen to one of my kids, we wouldn't go bankrupt, or that we would have access to decent care. And that's what you mean. I mean, we could mention all kinds of other structures, but I think that that's your point illustrated in real life. That would be a thing that would allow me to have positive mind, vibes, and life.
Exactly. Right. And it's also like just an extension of that. Sometimes there's people who've just been through severe, unbelievable tragedies who then write a book and it boosts them into fame. And everyone is like, oh, this person is amazing. And then someone will say to them something like, well, don't you look back and go, this all happened for a reason? No, nobody should have been there in the first place.
Such a good point. Yeah, it's an easy way to unpack and define what's gone on, but it's also a hilariously true point as well. Before I let you go, we're going to be together in Vegas next week. You travel more than I do. I used to be seasoned veteran. I used to walk through the airports, pointing like I'm Ari Gold, just looking at me because I knew every single thing to do and nook and cranny of saying hi to the TSA agents. They were saying hi to me, blah, blah, blah. Now I travel not nearly as much. And a lot of us, don't travel that much, and things change pretty quickly in the airport. So I'm talking about air travel tips. Do you have anything that you want to give me a heads up on, a warning? Are you a TSA pre-check person? Are you a clear person? I
used to be clear, and then clear fucked up everybody. Clear's lines at JFK and LaGuardia, whatever, were getting longer then. So they oversold their membership, and then it was completely, because that was just supposed to whisk you through. And I only bought clear in a desperate moment where I was like trying to make a show, and I couldn't get through the TSA, and I thought, this is how I'm going to make my plane for a show. And so I bought it. What's that?
I bought it for the same reason, and then it accidentally renewed on me.
And now it's like $500, and you're like, no, absolutely not. Sorry, Claire. But now every airline, so TSA every airline now does this digital ID thing that if you just look at your boarding pass before you go on, you can do that. And then it's a separate line. So then you can cruise through that line.
About this, I did not know about this. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
And so that's the line, because it's like tiny bit complicated or easy to miss that you can add that on when you are going for your boarding pass. So if you do that, then there's a special digital ID line. You go through that. But the truth is, airline travel is horrible, and what they want you to do is bring nothing and have no needs. So if
and that's really hard for you, because I know in Vegas you have a separate carry-on just for sunscreen.
Yeah, exactly. I bring a trunk. I bring a trunk.
Just a trunk filled with sunscreen like pouring out of it. Now, let me push back on you though. Okay. I find it's a little unoriginal to complain about the airlines themselves, because they don't make a lot of money. Their profit margins are low, and the people who work in them are good people who've been so abused that they've become broken.
Oh God, yes.
So I have a lot of empathy for them. So they're not making a lot of money. The people that work in them get treated pretty poorly by certainly the customers. And here's the thing, Ophira. I want to fly all the way across the country in a metal tube in like 6 hours. Like, I don't know that I should be complaining that much. It's a pretty sweet situation to move your body from, across the country 3,000 miles in 5 hours or something. So can't you see it that way?
I can, but over time, I have also looked at how the margin, the small margin of profit, how the adjustments have been made to compensate for that affects the person that is buying the ticket. The only thing they need to make their industry work is people buying tickets, right? That's the only thing. And so but the person buying the ticket is the one most affected. So the fact that seats in planes, there's just so many more, they've tried to cram so many more seats. So you have seats that don't align with windows and it is, sometimes you're like, this is insane how close these are. Like sometimes you're just like, oh yeah, they're close. And sometimes you're like, what is going on? The fact that
you've flown Spirit, it's much cheaper, but I was given a stool.
Yeah, I had to stand up, strapped in, stand it up.
Yeah. It was just a Buffalo. No, I didn't know what it was up against. Clearly, you've thought through the actual line items. You have an Excel spreadsheet on the airline industry. So let me just ask you this. You make good points. I'm just playing devil's advocate on that. The final
I like it.
Piece of advice is, do you have a food and drink tradition? You can't bring liquids through. Do you then just go fill up, or do you buy a $90 bottle of water?
No, always fill up. Always fill up.
You trust that water? Yeah, I do too.
I trust that water. Oh yeah, I'm still in the trusting water phase of my life, so that's next.
Even in this administration. Now, rounds. Okay, and then what about food? Do you bring snacks? Do you buy things? Do you have a go-to item, by the way, that you like to travel and eat, or?
I literally try. I like getting into the airport very early. I do like that because to me it feels like this liminal time in my life where I'm not really responsible for everything, and I can get on my laptop maybe or read or do stuff that feels in a different zone. So I like that. And I would rather pay for the whatever $30 sandwich or salad at the airport and then buy zero food on the plane. I don't like bringing stuff on the plane because I feel like it's disgusting. Like I'm like, oh, I packed a sandwich. What now? 15 hours ago? Oh,
I thought you meant because it's disgusting to the passengers. Have you ever bought something?
Oh God,
a trademark scent, and you open it and you smell it, and then you look to your neighbor and you're like, the shame.
Oh yeah,
you've never done that. You probably.
People just bring on the fast food that is available to them and it's all so stinky. Shake Shack, disgusting. Yeah. Wendy's, like all that stuff smells like it. You cannot believe how much it smells.
I feel like you're such an honest person. Do you actually give them the facial expression they deserve, or do you hide your display?
I've tried to give people dirty looks, and it never is anyone like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like never once. You can glare all you like. And they're just like, whatever. However, you know what? I will tell you, I did something in the past that haunts me on a plane. Haunts me. And it was before I was a parent, where I used to fly constantly. Now I fly semi-constantly. And I'm very hardcore about my aisle seat, if I can. Okay.
I'm a window guy. I'm a tiny little fella.
Oh yeah. I just don't like having to get through people to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. I'd rather shit my pants and walk out. But I just curl up there by the window. And not usually, I usually don't have to go pee. Sometimes I try to monitor that. Go ahead. So what happened?
So I had this aisle seat, and there was a kid sitting beside me, I think he was 12. Okay. And the mother was sitting in a row, a couple over in the window seat. And she said to me, can I switch with you so I can sit beside my kid? And I said, no. And she cried. And then I didn't say yes. I just looked down. And I am haunted by that version of myself. Haunted. Never again. Never again. Did I learn? I guess I learned a lesson. Learned, because then you know what God did to me, all you Trumpers? You know what God did to me? Put a baby in my belly, just like that.
This before you had a child, and now every time you take your son on an airplane, karma comes to haunt you.
That's right. That's right. And I always sit in the window and put him about 5 rows down.
That's totally fun. I think the kid should figure it out for himself. He'll be fine. Do you look back on him at all, or do you just fall asleep?
No, God, no. No. And hopefully they upgrade me to first class so I don't have to see like any part of anything.
He's in the back with the hijacker. And finally, neck pillow, what do you feel? Do you have one? And if not, how do you feel about the rest of us?
The what? Sorry?
Neck pillow. Do you have one?
Oh God. I've had a series. I bought every version of them because there's all you could do, like ones that are puffy up here, ones that are puffy down there, ones that clamp. Every single one of them, I feel like does not work for me. Garbage. I wish I could get that money back. I don't get it.
You have the one with the wine bottle and the straw that comes
I
up.
know, that was good. Where you just fill it. It's not even a pillow. It's just literally a bladder of wine.
You're pissed that both the wine is gone and you have no more cushion.
You don't care at that point. You're trashed on Merlot.
That is good. We have to design that. All right. This was awesome. Oh, I've missed talking to you this way, and I'm looking forward to being with you in Vegas and everybody else. Thank you very much for joining me today, Ophira. This was awesome.
Pete, you're the best. Can't wait to see you. Las Vegas PODJAM. Woo!
Yeah, there you go. Ophira Eisenberg. Always great. Go subscribe to her stuff. Thank you very much, Ophira, for joining me. She will be with us for more in Vegas at PODJAM. Okay, well, sorry we're not going to have John Carroll PODJAM this year. We couldn't make it work, but we're very excited that his new album is out. I'm going to continue to drop those tracks when I'm not on the road so I can produce it properly, but you got to go buy his new album from his website is the best place to go, johncarroll.org right now. All right, well, I hope you're all right and hanging in there. Thanks for all of your support. I'll be right back here tomorrow.
Get up on your knees. When you can't see the forest for the burning trees, you got to stand up. Hey, you've been sitting so long, you got the creaky knees, you got to stand up.